I wrote this sitting on the toilet, in between the few moments that I could sneak away from my two adorable yet clingy children. Of course, they opened the door on me and attempted to climb on my lap several times, but I'm a mother, so I take any time that I can to multitask, and writing this piece was no exception. Thank God I wasn't really born with a big sense of modesty, because when it comes to being a mother, any type of privacy and dignity that you had is thrown out the window. That happens long before your little blessings are placed into your arms. Yes, from the moment that you get the plus sign on the pee stick, you know that your lady parts are now officially public domain. And if you are a high-risk mama, like I was, then you know no matter how much you spruce up down there, something in you just clicks, and you think, screw it. I'm not even going to shave my ankles for my next appointment, let alone worry about dealing with the bumps and itchiness and regrowth rash. 3 months before my wedding, I was diagnosed with the early stage of cervical cancer. Thank God we caught it when we did, and after 3 surgeries that left me with a tiny bit of cervix, I was told that I was cancer-free for now, but any chance of carrying a baby was slim to none. Well, a few short months after our wedding, I was able to conceive and carry our beautiful daughter, Molly May, to 35 weeks. She was tiny but perfect, and I loved every moment of being a mommy. A few short months later, we found out, to our shock and surprise, that we were expecting again. Sadly, that baby was not meant for this earth, and that is a crushing blow that my heart still struggles with to this day. However, that is not the story that I am here to tell. My story for you begins 6 months after our second sweet baby was taken to heaven. My husband and I decided that it was time to try again. After all, they said having Molly was a miracle, and that we hoped that we could bring a sibling to share her life with before I was forced to undergo a hysterectomy to ensure the cervical cancer would be gone once and for all. Wouldn't you know it, we conceived on the first attempt. Way to go, honey. Now, if only he could remember to put the toilet seat down. At 37 weeks, we welcomed our beautiful little Madeline Mary into the world. Getting her here was no easy journey on my body, my mind, or any modesty that I had left in me. By that point, all the appointments I had, the cervical cancer, Molly's pregnancy, the miscarriage, the checkups, the weekly internal ultrasounds, I was pretty sure that the whole entire Lehigh Valley had seen my vagina. In a strictly medical way, of course. There was nothing else left to surprise me. Well, all that went out the window when I was told that I was to receive a cerclage. For those of you who don't know what a cerclage is, it's when they stitch you inside to keep the baby cooking where it belongs. Kind of what Grandma used to do to this Thanksgiving bird. Sounds fun, right? This procedure is done in an operating room where they give you an epidural to numb you from the waist down. Since I was a special case, they decided that they needed 2 surgeons to get my cerclage in. The head surgeon decided that the job called for what they call the candy cane stirrups. Sounds like fun, I thought. How could anything called candy cane stirrups be terrifying? Well, let's put it this way, they're not red and white stripes. No, they are that dingy gray surgical metal, and they're placed at the end of the operating table. I guess at some point, unbeknownst to me, my legs were hoisted up into the air by my ankles, and I dangled spread eagle in a room full of strangers. Now, any of you who have had an epidural before probably know that you can't feel anything. So I thought my legs were down on the table. That's until they asked me to move my arms, which were bundled in a warming blanket, so they could strap me down like Jesus. Well, my hand hit something that I thought was a balloon or something. But no, to my surprise, it was my meaty thigh dangling high above my ears. I was shocked to finally have my eyes focus and realize the spectacle that my body was now putting on. I began to nervously laugh. And like most pregnant women, that caused me to have to relieve myself. I'm gonna pee, I exclaimed. Oh, go right ahead, Melissa, they said. You have a catheter in. I didn't feel like I did, but I figured that they had that epidural working so well that I didn't know my thighs were literally dangling above my ears. Still, I questioned, are you sure? I don't want to pee on you. They assured me it was okay, and what I was feeling was normal. So I peed. I peed like I never peed before. And I peed all over that sterile operating room floor. I watched the doctors scamper away as it splashed around their surgical booties. I told you so. It wasn't you, it was me, proclaimed the younger, good-looking, might I add, surgeon, trying to make me feel better. Well, that was very unprofessional of you then, I teased back. But as mortifying as it was, it kind of broke the ice. After a quick cleanup, they assumed their positions between my two outstretched, unshaven ankles. One doctor said, see how great these candy canes are? Now we can both fit in here. To which I replied, gee, that's what every girl wants to hear. My parents will be so proud. The room once again erupted in laughter. And at that point I realized that if I angled my head just right, I could see them working on me in the reflection of the surgical lights above. I felt like Mary Poppins' carpet bag down there. Things were being put in and things were being pulled out. It was terrifyingly comical. I prayed that the stitch would work. I prayed for the baby that was in my womb, but I couldn't feel right now because of this epidural. And I really, really prayed that they were not going to leave anything up there inside me. They didn't, thank God, but they did provide my body the opportunity to become a mother of two beautiful girls who are 18 months apart. So now, as I sit on the toilet with those two little girls bouncing on my lap, I think about the journey that has brought them here, and I could care less about my unshaven legs or my overgrown lady parts. And I hope my husband really doesn't care either, because one day we'll actually have the energy to touch each other again, and he's just going to have to get used to it, just like every doctor and nurse in the entire Lehigh Valley who has experienced my vagina, in a medical way, of course. Now, if you'll excuse me, I will be in the ladies' room for the rest of the afternoon, enjoying an uninterrupted sit. Thank you.